What's up, everybody? Welcome to the rLounge. Entitled's aunt's son stole my debit card because I wouldn't buy him $100 in Google Play points. Now, I'm not very technical. I'm in my mid-30s and don't use much of anything new apart from my cell phone and laptop. So don't savage me if something doesn't sound right with the whole Google Play thing. I barely understand it myself. My aunt, who I'll call EA, since that seems to be a common abbreviation here, has always been an entitled diva. She's much younger than my mother and not much older than me because she was an unplanned pregnancy by my grandparents in their 40s. Because of this, they showed her with a bit too much love, so to speak, meaning she got just about whatever she wanted. My mother didn't enable her like my grandparents did, though. So their relationship has never been good. Eventually, my grandma passed away and my grandpa is in a nursing home now. And it's pretty much an open secret. EA is just waiting for him to die because she wants his money and assets. She's currently living in the house my grandparents owned with her son, who is 9. He was a pregnancy she got from sleeping around. The boy's father pays child support, but wants nothing to do with my little cousin. But the man's parents live close and wanted to be in their grandson's life. But they hate EA because she squeezes money out of them by talking about her son's needs right in front of them. More like her own needs to go to the hair salon or get her nails done. Because EA has to cover the bills for the house and her child herself, she doesn't have a lot of money to spare to pamper herself like she used to. So she'll regularly ask for handouts from relatives, including me. But the most I've done is occasional babysitting with the help of my wife. Last weekend, I watched my cousin for EA and took him to the store with me to get a couple of roast chickens and some sides for dinner. While there, my cousin spots that wall of gift cards and such, and he starts asking me to buy him some Google Play points. And he grabbed a card that he said was worth $100 in points. I put the card back on the shelf and tried to politely tell him that's something to ask his mother for. Well, he got upset and yelled at me that it wasn't too much to ask, and he was already out of points. I didn't fight with him because he'd just get worse if I did. So I just let him pout till we got home. The next time I went out, I noticed my debit card wasn't in my wallet. I called my wife and checked our shared account, and there was a transaction for $100 plus tax to the local store that I didn't make, and it was made the day after my cousin had the tantrum in the same store. I immediately realized he took the card from my wallet and likely used it to buy the Google points with EA's help. I went to my bank and had the card deactivated before it could be used again, then requested a new one. My wife and I went to see EA and told her we know her son took my debit card, and I wanted it back. The following is how I remember it going down, but it's probably paraphrased quite a bit since my memory kinda sucks. EA, I know your son took my debit card and I want it back.
I have no idea what you're talking about. My son didn't steal anything.
We have proof. The bank statement shows what you bought, when you bought it, and from what store. If I call in fraud, then they'll trace it right back to you and your son. So I'll say it again. Return my dang card. She went as white as a sheet and quickly ran inside to find the card. She came back out a moment later and handed it to me. Though, it was more like she shoved the card into my chest and said,
"Here, take it, you greedy bastard,"
with angry, snobbish look on her face that she always made when things didn't go her way.
"Now that you have your effing card back, go away."
I don't think so. You still owe me the $100 for the Google card, plus the tax. My wife has Venmo, so you can send it to her right now.
But I can't pay that back.
Oh, I know you can, and you will. Or I'll get the police involved. EA begrudgingly pulled out her phone and asked for my wife's information, then sent her the money owed. But right before she did, she tried to guilt us that we were taking food from her son's mouth. But my wife said it was more like we were taking away her next trip to her hair salon, and to just Venmo the cash already so we could leave. She did it, then slammed the door in our faces. I then yelled through the door that I won't be babysitting her thief of a son for a good while either. And since then, she's not spoken to either of us. But she did make a post on the Book of Faces calling me a heartless, greedy a-hole who couldn't let $100 go. My wife commented the full story on the post, and EA had deleted the post by the next day. Since then, it's been no contact. Our first reaction comes from Ninja Gecko. Your aunt has done everything wrong. She knew he stole it, helped him use it, lied to cover the theft, and tried to manipulate you. If nothing else, that kid will take his mother's involvement as affirmation of his actions and will do this again. I'd go no contact permanently. Everything about her is toxic and rubbing off on her kids. Also, tell absolutely everyone. Give her no opportunity to besmirch your reputation. The OP replies, "It's not exactly something we're keeping quiet. Plenty in the family already know, so I doubt EA can weasel her way out of it. we're not the only ones that are sick of her. Norse god Loki chimes in, bringing up her kid as a criminal. Really great parenting skills there. Next up, Spun Gold Baby Blue says, since she gave you your bank card readily, basically, the $100 she bought with your card and took down her Facebook just shows how guilty she feels about this. You gave a perfect 10 performance on stopping the EAs and EKs from stealing from you. Kudos to you. The OP replies, it's not guilt she feels. I know her well. She just hates being caught red-handed and goes into pouting fits. I've never really seen her feel guilty for anything. She knows what she did was wrong, but she doesn't care. What she's more mad about is the fact that no one is siding with her, and they almost never do. On to the next story. Karen wanted free food. I was thinking of breadsticks when a memory of breadstick-related Karens re-entered my mind. This story took place in 2017, so very much pre-COVID. Bit of context. My hometown does a charity walk in the middle of winter on the coldest night it could be hosted on, in order to stand in solidarity with the homeless and what they have to go through during freezing winters. Our local ice cream parlor, chocolate company, and pizzeria donated massive checks to the event, and on top of it, provided food to those participating as a way of thanking them. The route was a massive loop, with each donor's restaurant serving as a pit stop for participants to get ice cream, chocolate, and breadsticks. We were told what we were getting ahead of time. Each participant was given a beanie with the name of the charity on it, so all they had to do to claim their free food was show the beanies to the workers. This is important. This particular story involves me and my cousin, C. We went to pick up our breadsticks at the pizzeria. Important to note we were wearing our bright yellow charity beanies, and it took place right before the end. C and I were pretty slow, so it felt more like the aftermath of the event. On to the story. C and I walk into the restaurant where the worker sees our bright beanies. The only people inside were 2 workers and our Karen, whose order had been placed and was off to the side waiting. The worker sees our bright yellow hats.
I know what you two are here for. Your breadsticks are still baking, but they'll take 2 minutes at most.
It's no problem for us, but what time do you close at?
We're still open for another 2 hours. Is the event still happening?
I think we're part of the last few. It's freezing out.
All the point of
name of charity.
I'd be out there, but I'm here giving out free food to people like you. Thank you for participating.
The mention of free food caused the wild Karen to appear.
Why do they get free food? Oh, they're participating in
charity,
where they walked in the cold to support the homeless. Well, I'm with
name of charity, but very wrong.
I want free food. Can I see your proof?
Our beanies were gifted to us at our starting point, and there was no way anyone could pass up something to keep your ears warm. Also, the only way you could know the participants.
I don't have any, and they don't have any proof,
points to us.
I want a free pizza. I'm sorry. I can tell they are participating because our manager told us what to look out for when they arrived. I can see their participants. I can also tell you're not because our free item to give to the participants was breadsticks. I don't care. If you can give it away to just anyone, give it to me. I'll speak to your supervisor and tell him you refuse to give free food to a charity person. I will get you fired.
Now, dear reader, at this point in time, you should probably be aware that there were about 300 participants, and giving away that many full-size bags of breadsticks for free would cause the local pizzeria to go bankrupt. So to make sure there was enough for everyone without going broke, these breadsticks were bite-sized and about 5 in each bag, with 1 bag per participant. 1.5 breadsticks worth in each bag. By this point, our breadstick bites were done, so the poor worker who had to deal with her BS on top of making enough food for the 300 participants had to then season and pack our bites so we could leave. Either out of fear or following the customer's always right, he packed a bag for Karen as well. His back was turned when we were waiting, so Karen didn't see they were bite-sized until they were handed to her in a rolled-up bag.
Why are they so small?
Was the last thing my cousin and I heard as we got out of there before anything else happened. I still think of that worker whenever I eat there, as I haven't seen him since. I like to pretend he quit his job, but looking back, that probably wasn't the case. Edit. I forgot to mention the starting point was the community hall where the homeless and those less fortunate were able to get a good meal. Free food and winter clothes were donated as well. And thanks to all of you kind Redditors for reading. Go do something for your own communities. Our first reaction was from Layton's. She insisted she was participating in the charity event. She demanded she receive the freebie for participants. Therefore, she must want to participate. I know it would have been a big problem, so it is just as well that you didn't, but I was hoping to read each of you grabbed hold of her and propelled her along with you, acting as if you really believed her lies. Come on, we'll stick together. We wouldn't want to leave anyone behind to get lost. If we hurry, I bet we can catch up with some of the others. Let's run together. If she took the reward for being part of the event, she should be taken at her word and dragged along to the event. Spun Gold Baby Blue chimes in. Normally, I would say stop enabling people to act entitled because it just perpetuates their behavior through giving in to their demands. However, the pizzeria was providing snacks to 300 people walking in the bitter cold to bring to light to the plight of homeless people. Hoorah! I don't blame the employee for giving her the equivalent of one breadstick. He or she had run ragged all night, and if it would shut the crazy woman up, I'd do it too. Moving on. Entitled uncle thinks he can tell my wife to be a stay-at-home mom. Not sure if this is quite entitled, but was not sure where else it belonged. My wife, Erin, and I are in our early 30s. My wife has worked in the nonprofit world for a while and has decided she wants to go back to school for a master's in psychology. Her hope is to become a high school counselor, which is the age group she wants to work with. As part of that, she got a job at the school where she will be attending since they cover the cost for employees. Plan is for her to work the first year to have the cost covered. The second year requires a co-op of sorts, 3 days a week, so she won't have a full-time job. Will be going to school full-time and using a small portion of her inheritance, which we are fortunate she has, to pay for school. We are also planning on trying for a child during this time. We understand it will be very difficult managing time-wise, but both of us are in agreement that this is what we want. Although we will need to be a bit more frugal when I am the only one working. We will be fine given my salary. We don't really have a mortgage, rent, own a 2-family house. We live in one unit, rent the other, which covers monthly costs, and have more than enough between our savings and my wife's inheritance in case of an emergency. All of the above is to say, we have thought our plan through as best we can. In comes my uncle DB. That is part of the entitled side of the family. Erin, my mom, and I went to DB's house because his wife has been asking for a while to visit. Finally, had some time and wanted to see my cousin, so went to visit for lunch. Had the usual chit-chat about how things are going. Erin mentions she's going back to school as part of a conversation. My aunt says that is great. Uncle DB asks why is she going back to school this late. Erin answers that it would have been great if she knew what she wanted earlier, but can take people some time, and plenty of people switch careers. Uncle DB asks how she is going to handle school, work, and a child. He just assumed we would have one. We haven't told anyone we are trying. I answered that obviously it will be tough, but we have a plan. Plus, I'm there too, not all on Erin. Uncle DB then comes back saying it would be a lot easier for Erin to just work so we can save extra money and then stay home when we have a child. That going back to school seems like way too much and she should stay home so our future child has someone at home. Erin responds that if we do have a child, they will be well cared for. Uncle DB doesn't have to worry, and we can all count on him to come up and babysit since he seems to care so much about this future child. At this point, I was mainly trying not to laugh too hard at Uncle DB and was glad Erin answered as mine would not have been as nice. Nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home dad or stay-at-home mom. Don't force others to do it because you think it's the only way or when they did not ask for your advice. Our first reaction comes from Zinfidel55. So, he wants her to forego an education for a child that doesn't exist yet. Awesome. Pan90 adds to the conversation. Is he unaware that daycare exists? That they can help you socialize your child young so that they can learn how to handle their peer group before school starts getting in the way? Kids should know how to interact with each other solo. You can't do that if there's just adults around. Hope he realized he put his foot in his mouth and that it's not times before 1950s anymore. Vampire Girl 99 thinks, I love that your wife straight away swung around and said he can help since he cares so much. That was the perfect response. Spun Gold Baby Blue chimes in, well now, Mr. Douchebag has it all figured out, doesn't he? Why get an education to further yourself when, once you have a child, you must become a stay-at-home mom? Talk about an old-fashioned prick. He sees her as nothing more than an incubator and not worth much else. I'm also wondering why DB said she must become a stay-at-home mom instead of OP becoming a stay-at-home dad. Well, not really wondering. DB is a misogynistic, domineering ace-hole. One more pile-on from Ramen Noodle 620. That wouldn't even cross his mind.